Hi, it's Thao. It's like 3:30 a.m. and I thought I'd do a video. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, so this is my part 2 of a Sun and Scorpio, Moon and Pisces with a Scorpio Ascendant combination. I do understand a little bit different compared to the first video that I put through. Now, I did want to touch on the Ascendant. So the Ascendant is our persona, so it's how we come across, yeah? And it was the sign that was rising in the east at the time and location that you're born, so this actually draws the whole chart. So the houses, the first house is the Ascendant, right? So everyone with a Scorpio Ascendant will have the same houses, but obviously the planets will be in different locations. But for specifically though, I did want to address the combination of the Scorpio Sun Ascendant with the Moon in Pisces. Now, there was a lot of turmoil, I'll explain it by telling you about what I went through. And there's a lot of turmoil inside for this combination, right? And look, I think we all differ. Even if we have this combination, we are all different depending on, you know, Mercury will be how we come across specifically in our interactions. Even Venus and Mars, right? Venus is how we love, how we see love in the world, really, and even Mars and how we project our energy. So that, I think those planets are very important, and it's also important to see where Mars and Pluto is in your chart too, because that will be the Scorpio or the Ascendant, and how you project that type of Scorpio Ascendant out, or how it's formed within you. Now, with the Ascendant, a Scorpio Ascendant, so where do I start with this? So with myself, you know, anyone that's a Scorpio, we've always kind of clinged on to the fact that the power of us being Scorpios, because Scorpios are a powerful sign. Like, we know that we understand a little bit more, and we can be strategic, and we can understand psychology naturally. We are a bit intense, but we kind of, over time, kind of own that power where we go, because Mars rules us, right? And Mars is the god of war, and it's funny because we don't like to be misunderstood, but in that very essence is, I think we like the fact that we are understood as well, because we're a walking contradiction. Anyone that has Scorpio in them is a walking contradiction. The combination with the Pisces and Scorpio is even a more intense contradiction. And what I mean by contradiction, this will explain the enigma of being a Scorpio and why people, you know, paint a Scorpio the way that it is, being so mysterious, etc., and they're intrigued. You know, Scorpio is a feminine sign, right? And it's ruled by a totally masculine planet like Mars. You know, Scorpion, the glyph of a Scorpio is a desert creature thing, right? Yet it's a water sign. That's another contradiction. You know, we are emotional, but we also project strength. Everything about us is a contradiction because it's the polarity within us, right? We are one and the other. And I think this is confusing for people because it's not consistent with one way, right? If that makes sense. So remembering this, there's a lot of confusion, you know, like we are two things at the same time, and we don't get it, but we're so adamant because it's a fixed sign, and we're so stubborn with our beliefs, etc. And I am a very dominant person, right? And I don't think, you know, tell my story. I met there was a person I met recently who is a very dominant person too, and you know, they've got Scorpio in them too. And he would actually call me out on certain things, or actually say, hey, what'd you do that for? And I was a bit taken aback by this, because I don't think anyone's ever said these things to me before. And and I appreciate him for it, because truth is really big in us, right? The Scorpio likes to be honest and truthful, and he'll be like, I remember he said something like, I can see how strong you are. It's kind of really confusing though. And I remember I looked at him and I went, what do you mean? Like, because, in our heads we understand ourselves completely. We've always connected with the fact that we have always kind of understood us, and that's a bit of our power, right? That we know ourselves so well. And when he mentioned this, because in my head, I think I come across a certain way. And I think, maybe there are times when people, I know people pick and choose their times to, approach me, because I can be a bit of a bitch sometimes, and sometimes I'm kind of lovely. But when he mentioned it though, no one's ever kind of said it to me before, and actually pointed out that fact, because usually I'm pointing it out on people, right? And, because he kind of like helped me be psychologically broke down, because usually I'm breaking down people when analysing who they are and pointing out their psychological issues, etc. But I don't think anyone's ever done it to me until then. And then what happened was, it's a bit, because Scorpio likes to be in control, right? The planet Mars likes to know what's going on, and that's kind of how we feel a bit safe, that we have control over things, yeah? And it made me feel a bit vulnerable, and that's not a very comfortable place for any Scorpio to be. Vulnerability is a tough thing for a Scorpio, right? And I took in the information. I just didn't know how to take it, because I've already analysed my childhood. I've already looked into things to understand who I am. And when I started telling my friends that I've met a new friend, and they've been helping me with my psychological issues, because there's inner turmoil that sometimes gets really hard for me, and sometimes I feel like I can't cope, right? And I feel that I need to do something about it, because I'm sinking. Like, internally I'm sinking. Like, out here I could look like I'm okay, but sometimes it gets really hard. The what I feel and what I think, like the battle within, it's like a war inside me, right? And I was pretty much reaching out, but no one was really kind of helping me with it until I met this person. I'm lucky that I did meet them, because he kind of threw things on me. When I told my closer friends, I've met someone that's kind of helping me psychologically break my own problems down, I think their reaction was something along the lines of, I think the first person said, who has enough balls to take you on, Thao? Or, are you serious? Like, that person must be pretty brave. And the first couple of times I heard this, I was a bit confused, going, what do you mean? Like, cause, in my head I'm like, am I that mean? Do I come across that mean, that for my friends to say this? And they're like, well, you're a tough person to take on. Like, you're very, stubborn with the way that you think, and you believe everything that you understand is correct. And I'm like, in my head I'd be like, yeah, but because I know I'm right. But I wasn't expecting my friends to react this way, so I actually purposely went around and I told more people to see what their reaction was, and they all had the same reaction. And I had to stop for a second and go, I know I'm a dominant person, I know that I'm intense sometimes, but I don't know, it wasn't adding up in my head. So but now I was a bit more aware of it, right? And I was trying to observe myself, and this is a tough thing for this combination to do, because I think that we live in a world of visuals, and it's like we have a movie in our head kind of thing, but when we are involved in the situation, I don't think we understand. And this comes back to the ascendant, and this is why I wanted to explain the ascendant, or the sign Scorpio in general, because Scorpio is confused, right? I think Scorpio is like, don't get me wrong, I see Scorpio is completely powerful in all that they are and what they represent and what they do and what struggles and challenges that they overcome in life. But See, I read a lot of psychology books and it makes perfect sense. When we were kids, we were treated, this is for anyone that's a Scorpio ascendant or has Scorpio in them. When we were young, we were treated in a way where we didn't like, and this could be something that we aren't aware of, right? It could be unconscious. Now, in turn, as we grow up, we become the opposite of what we were when we were young, not realizing it, because we can't really point that out because that was our own individual experience. It is what it was, you know what I mean? It was what it was, and we don't know anything else outside of that. But now that we're older, when we look back and we understand that we are one and the other, right? So when we were young as kids, there was usually a parent who didn't treat us the way that we had liked to be treated, and usually childhood for any Scorpio is difficult. However psychologically difficult, it could vary between people, right? But always difficult for the one that's going through it. And as adults, we have become, it's like no one explained to us and emotions and interactions as such when we were kids, and we kind of yearn for this emotional connection with people, but our parents were too kind of cold or impersonal, given our sun sign, which is our father, was authoritative and strong and probably didn't talk about emotions, being, that's why we have the Scorpio sun, and because it really is connected to the father, and that's who we strive to be in the world. And the moon of Pisces, right? Now, Pisces I see as neglect. So again, in another sense, this is where the mother is the moon, right? And the mother is meant to show us what emotions are as children. But given these two signs are very, detached or unemotional, we didn't get that as kids. So we had to form our own concept over time. But the thing is, without a guideline, how do we know we're doing it right? Right? So when we get older, we understand things intuitively, and we understand people, yeah? But because we can't see ourselves in here, because we can't watch ourselves like we watch people. When we watch people, I think we're bang on, like we know what's going on and we know what's up. But when we're involved, I think our brain thinks that we understand, but I don't think, unless we've acknowledged this already, I don't think we get it. And this is where these energies can cross boundaries in personal relationships, or we don't know when enough is enough, or there's a sense of confusion just within ourselves. I'm not talking about understanding people, that's a no-brainer, but I think given that we don't understand, or we didn't understand when we were young, and we grew up to be the opposite, that's why we have this Scorpio ascendant, where we're very black and white, and we're very blunt, and specific with how we are and how we come across, because we know that we didn't get it when we were young. So when we're older now, we've got to make sure that we get it, and it's logical for us to do logic. So it's black and white, it's blunt, it's brutal, it's it is this or it's that, black or white. It's not grey. We don't know what grey is. We don't like grey. It's black or white. And I think this is the psychological shit that we take on as adults, where we don't realise this is happening, right? It's all psychological. So that's why we are so very black and white, and how we come across, because black and white makes sense. Because we didn't get it when we were kids, you know what I mean? And this is the contradiction again. We are a water sign. We're about emotions and stuff, right? But when we've never been shown that love that we kind of always wanted, that feeling, right? But yet we are water, and it's all about emotions and love. And you got to question, do we get it right? I think recently somebody asked me, if you've watched my video, I highly recommend my video called Scorpio, My Need to Understand. And that's what sparked my need to understand people, because I started off with doing this poll, and on trying to understand what love is, right? Because I've always loved, you know, the whole fantasy of the, you know, cartoons and Disney, etc. You know, the happy ever after. And I'd get into, you know, relationships after relationships and not know what it is, because Scorpio doesn't understand until it knows its opposite, right? And I'd be unhappy, and I wouldn't know why, and I'll remove myself from the situation. And, you know, as I'm older now and I've gone through the opposite, I look back and go, oh, hey, wish I knew that to appreciate those people, because I just didn't know what it was. And the thing is, I've always been one, I just want to be loved, and I just want to love someone and someone to love me, and that's all I'm about. You know, that's the Pisces in us, you know. And then, yet, as an adult, I don't think I know what love is, right? But, and this is just me personally, I'm sure other people are fine, but yet, connection is what I seek. And I'm very detached, where I'm a bit skewed with the way that I see marriage and kids and procreating, etc. I don't think I have a you know, traditional way of understanding all those things. There's a lot of things I don't believe in. And, you know, like when I look at my family life, I'm living in another state with most of my family members. Like I don't think they understand me. I don't think they see me as, I think they see me as a bubble that needs to be popped. Or I need to wake up from a dream or something like that, because they're extremely logical people, right? And I appreciate them for who they are. And it's always a struggle being around them, because it stirs up these emotions in me that I can't handle, and because I've always been the emotional one that they don't quite understand. And, you know, when I started on this path of, you know, this new understanding of Scorpio, it kind of threw up my concept of who I was and how I saw myself. And I remember, yeah, like, because I could understand the logic behind it, but there was something missing. And if you're anything like me, being a Scorpio, we can't just understand the logic. We need to really make sense of it and connect it to what we know and who we are, right? Before it locks in, before we can accept what it is. You know, I can hear what they were saying. I don't disagree, but I needed to lock it in. I need some sort of confirmation or reassurance of that being fact, right? And, you know, I think other Scorpio ascendants would be able to connect with that. And even astrology, I had to get my own data. Everything's my own data. I can't read a science book or a non-fiction book without, you know, if I don't have the capability to be able to, you know, make sense of it logically in my own head with my own concepts and who I am somewhere else, I don't really get it. It's just data that I don't know what to do with, right? I need to connect it and really make sense of it before I can take it. And it has to be all, you know, proven with data until it's disproven or disproved or whatever the word is. Then I'll wholeheartedly believe it. But when it's, you know, shown to be incorrect, then that's gone. You know, because we're logical in the way that we are, even though we're water, right? Okay, so this weird energy. So I've always been one to always kind of connect this world as logic, right? And I come from a very logical family, yet who I feel inside is so emotional. And this is my war. The way I feel that, you know, and Scorpio is always one or the other. My war is, how can I do this out there when I feel so against it? Yeah? But I know I need to do it to survive. Right? I just need to change perspective somehow. I just need, like, that was why I was thinking where, you know, I kind of see the world as, people as like a disease. Like really, if the world was like a human body and we are the disease that's multiplying in this human body, which is Earth, right? And it's silly for me to stay there and have this thought because I am part of that disease, technically. But I didn't know why I had such a push and pull thing with how I feel and what I think. You know, because I've always connected with the fact that I feel for people. and I felt that I couldn't do logic out there, which is that world, and that's where I got confused. But only recently I realised that no, I've never been confused with logic. It's my heart that's been confused because it's been suppressed and repressed, and because I never really got it. And I have to cut this short. Get a phone call.